Greetings and hello. I am very excited for this episode, and I sure hope that you are too. It's one I've wanted to make for a while now. I kind of tried making, I followed the spirit of this episode a handful of days ago. Episode. Does that mean that this is a Phineas form or longer? The longer form? I think so, because it is a different style than I'm typically have been working on. And that's kind of exciting, actually. I haven't had just a good old press the button, hit record experience for a while, and I think that's the kind of experience it needs to be for what I need this video to be. So we are going to take off auto level just for a second. So right off here at the top of the hour, this is going to be a Panther Boy talking, get it all out of here, just kind of hanging out for a wee bit. I want to get nice and personal and tell you more about me and where I come from. And again, that's territory I, moseyed my way through recently. And not even moseyed my way through, like I dipped my toe into such a video and it just wasn't even, it didn't live up to my own personal expectations for things. So, and then this is also things I've tried making a video of before, but I didn't know that that's what I was making. So anyway, we're doing this now is what I'm doing, for better or for worse. I just kind of feel like it feels good to be back making a video. So hello, I hope everyone here has been doing excellent. So I want to show you guys actually though, what I think might be my favorite world, because, oh gosh, that's even how the first video I made that got even a little bit of notoriety was I showed the world real quick before I started making the video, which excited me a lot to help frame. I'm a big believer in putting. This is a harder one to make, and I didn't script this, and maybe I should have, but also I think not scripting is some of where my magic can be. So it's something that we're just going with here. But I love adding emotional heft to something by place. And it works like with outfits too. And if you wear the outfit that's like, this is my successful outfit, then you have no choice but to be successful because you're wearing your successful outfit. And I guess there's something there that might have to do with ADHD. And by adding stimulation, it can help you focus, which we all know this about ADHD. That's why we have like 5 monitors and we're listening to all, like the on Spotify ADHD hyperfixation playlist, by the way. It's a game changer. You guys got to check it out. But putting on an article of clothing, like a hat if you're not a hat person, but if you're wearing a hat, then that little bit of extra pressure you're not used to having there is enough to be a constant reminder. It's an additional stimulation for you to be able to help keep yourself in a particular mindset. And I like doing that with locations as well. I have tons of different cafes at any given point and a lot of different bars that fit different moods. And I love being able to go to the zone of energy that I match with, because that's just how it feels like stars align, and that's just really important to me. And we have such a stars aligning moment for us now. I've never filmed in this world with this avatar or my previous rendition of this avatar, because the world was a little dark, and I'm only, with the way my model is set up, I can be here and I still look dark, but before I was black as night. So we're happy now. And that we're here in this world. I think this is called Skyline Penthouse. And it's one of the first worlds that I really fell in love with because of the scenery. So we're on the balcony right now. So we're going to fiddle around with the camera and I'm going to show you the scenery. And then we're going to nestle in to the video at hand. And I'm so excited, and I hope that you guys are too. This video, by the way, is going to be basically exactly more of everything that you've seen so far. So if you're this far in and you're like, oh my god, what? Yes, I have some great news. And if you've seen this far and you're like, oh really? I also have great news though, because you know what to expect. So that's just going to be more of this. But it's only going to actually really start for sure after I show you guys the world and why I love it so much. And I didn't even remember how much I loved being in this world until I came to this world, because it's reminding me of all of the things I love. So we're going to get to it. I'm going to show you guys the world. So we're on the balcony, and we're actually going to go to the spawn. We're going to go to the spawn real quick. So when you start in the world, I think you actually maybe start in the elevator. I never noticed. Oh yeah, you start in the elevator for sure. So you start in the elevator, and then you've got like a little kitchen. And the very first thing I actually ever found, we're gonna come over this way. Not the first thing. The first people I ever interacted with in VR, really, was right here. It was this chessboard. It was a cheeseburger cat I played chess with, and his friend who drew, I'm not even kidding, racist symbols. And then the cheeseburger cat saw that, and he's like, oh, we're not going to do that. And then he goes and erases the crayon, and his friend kind of like wanders off somewhere else. And I kicked the cheeseburger cat's butt so hard. So yes, that's this is the chessboard where I first really hung out with people in VR, and borderline that's the only time I've hung out with people in VR. It's not true, but or almost, because like I can count on like I think two hands that have 5 fingers each about how many times I've hung out with people in VR, and 1/10 of that, at least at most, was a cheeseburger cat playing chess in this very world, and we're very happy about that. The world has some other bits too. Actually, there's like a little office. I never actually really spent time in this little office-y area, but maybe I will at some point. But the kicker, and where I spend all of my time, or used to, is the balcony. And it is the first place, not the first place, because I can't find the first world I ever streamed from again. I'll look for it again, but that rare footage I found on one of my old hard drives, and it's beautiful, and I'll share it with you guys in a second or two. And by a second or two, I mean like whenever I get around to it. But this world, once I found it, is so comforting to me for the reasons I'll show you when we get to the balcony. But I would map out a lot of my thoughts of programming using the crayons up in the sky, and I would stream also in there, is where I got a lot of like that kind of practice in. Oh gosh, I miss it so much. So we're gonna go to the balcony right now, and I can't believe that we're here. It's finally balcony time. It's Skyline Penthouse time. What an excellent time to be alive this is. So this is the balcony though. And the reason I love the balcony, obvious reasons for what I love about the balcony. So I'm actually going to pan around and just try to, like, I'm not a very good camera guy. So we're gonna just try and do this. But yeah, look, this is the view. Oh, here I am stepping at the balcony and like walking into my wall. But yeah, this is the view from my favorite. Oh, that's a good frame right there. How does this work? So can I just step around and oh, what? Technology, dude. All right, hang on. So I gotta fix inside my play space. All right, Phineas, you got a big play space. So take advantage of that. Oh, wow, this is, what? Look at me. I'm such a little technological marvel right now. Are you guys kidding me? What? I'm so handsome. This is nuts. So, yes, this is, and we're gonna be too close to the rail. That's okay right now. So this is my favorite world, almost. No, my favorite world, but like basically my favorite scenery, because cities, I love cities. They inspire me because I think people are fantastic. A lot of people go on hikes and feel a majesty in the natural world around them. And I'm happy for all the people for whom that works, and that seems to be a majority of people. And for me, I find that same majesty in people, and when I go to parties or bars, I would say actually performing creative work at a bar is as close as it gets to me to going to church. That is my temple, because creative work is always where the human spirit is able to manifest, but humans just making stuff for no reason, like this world is not necessarily better because I made this video, because I made, I VTube or whatever. I like to think the world is a better place, but it only exists because I decided to do that. And creative endeavors of any sort, I just hold paramount. That's like the peak of human experience. Only a human can make that. And most of the things that humans make are really stupid. Case in point. So I just love it. But I love people so much too. And so going to the bar and being able to look at all of the people being people, and then I'm like doing my little, I'm writing or whatever, that's kind of like a perfect day. Like that's an amazing night. I love that so much. And a city is where a lot of people are. What? But something I love about any of these buildings, right, is a human made all of those buildings. Animals don't make buildings like that, and it's so tall, and it's got glass all over the place, and it's like, humans, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And it's so tall, and things can only be that tall when humans make them that tall, or when they're mountains, or whatever, right? Like, I just love it. I love it, and I've never lived in a city. And a while ago, a friend of mine invited me over to his abode, which was in a city like this, and stayed with him for three whole weeks. And then I've visited a few times since then, but I feel like I was not properly appreciative of that moment, and I haven't. That's something I'm still grappling with, is how to pay reparations for like how much it meant to me, but I wasn't able to even receive it to the amount that it meant for me. Anyway, that's not what the video's about. I just want to say, in my limited exposure to cities, I love cities. And when I found this world, I was absolutely hooked. I couldn't get enough of this world. Is that still right? Yeah, okay, good. I just had to check to make sure we're all happy. I love it so much. It's my favorite thing in all of the land. And so being able to be in VR, and why would I want to go to a world with like cool visuals, or it's like a pretty forest? It's like, I never hang out in forests, and if I wanted a forest, I would just go to a forest. But I can't be in a city. I guess I could just go to a city. But it's also more rare to be able to just like go casually stand. Like, I can go to a forest, but I can't like go to a 40th floor penthouse balcony. You got to go to VR for that sort of thing. So I'm in VR, and you guys don't get to see the scenery, though. I think it would be a lovely background for the rest of this video, but I want to look at the city while I'm filming the video, because it's like, I mean, it's only like 9 o'clock at night right now, but it is decidedly not in the middle of the day in a city where I'm at, so I want to be in the middle of the day in a city. Yes. It's fun being here, though, because I even forgot how much this scenery inspires me. And this, for a while, was what I was working towards and grinding so hard to get out of where I was, because I wanted to move to a city, and there was such a mystique about it. And there still is. I've since kind of broken down what that dream was. For a little bit, Seattle was where I wanted to be. And I've since broken that apart into what did that mean for me, and how city is more important than just like Seattle. It was a very narrow scope at the time, and nothing wrong with Seattle whatsoever. I'd still end up there. But city is more important to me. And it's always been a massive vision of mine ever since I was a wee lad, honestly. And being here now reminds me of that, and I didn't even realize how much I had forgotten it. So we're so happy to be here. And also, I think actually this is the first time I've filmed anything here since having my face tracking. Since I stopped spending time in this world when I moved into video work in other ways. So it's like, what? This is... Now is the time. Now is the time. And there's like 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, Phineas Former little lad, before I was even Phineas Former, and I was just like trying. I've always been trying, but I was trying to be where I am now. And I was working really hard for this moment. And so being here now feels like also being with me 1.5 years ago. And it's like, we did it, buddy. Look, this is everything I was working for all the way back then. And learning what it's like to express myself, and how to talk in my room to myself like a madman, and normalizing virtual reality to me, and then ways of expressing myself. There's been so much work that's gone into all of this. And I'm here now. So in a large way, this video is also just an entire message to me from 1.5 years ago. Like, we did it, guy. So yeah, we're at the city, and now I'm gonna move the camera here, and this is a no edit experience, in part because I just want this video to exist, and the few times I've tried making, gotta be in the middle of my play space so I can be very safe. But also it's a virtual balcony. Like, it's not like I'm really gonna be... Okay, hang on. So I gotta fiddle with the camera a little bit, but if this is gonna be a no edit experience, then you gotta be, you know, you gotta be on your camera game. And then we're gonna over here, since I think something kind of like that looks kind of okay-ish, right? One of the YouTube shorts that I have is a rule of thirds short, because I just was literally practicing framing, and so I did like on the grid, just kind of like talked myself through the rule of thirds, which is one of the only things I know about filmcraft, but it helps a tremendous amount. Rule of thirds, by the way, is imagine your screen has, thirds. And you want things to line up on like the thirds, like where a grid line would go. So if your eyes are on the top grid line and you're either standing where this grid line would be or this grid line, that's just generally decent framing practice. And so you'll see I have that's roughly on a grid and that's roughly on the bottom, and then I'm here, and it's a framing hack that I learned in high school in video productions. And I don't actually even know what I'm talking about. I just heard it once, and it's something that I try and employ. So now you have that as well. I'm going to put down the controllers so I have hands, and then we're going to get on to the video with me looking at the vista and the beautiful city, and then you looking at me, at me in the beautiful Panther Boy. Oh, what did I do? Did I do anything? Did I? No? Okay, good. So this goes here. And this balcony, by the way, is also the the first place that I almost completely biffed it in VR, because I forgot what I was doing and I was just enjoying the scenery, and I was like, oh wow, and just boop, hand lean against the railing, and there was no railing because I was in virtual reality, and I felt like an idiot. But thankfully, no one saw me, and then also no one heard me do that until just now. So. That's a mistake. The only thing, though, is I'm now a little bit claustrophobic because the back is right here, and so I can't walk around quite as much as I sometimes do. But that's not really even a concern. So, this video is going to be a little bit challenging because, oof, dang it, shoot. I know what I intellectually want to discuss, but it's going to be a challenge. So we're going to kind of ramp our way into it when I have kind of a plan of where I want the video to ultimately head up, but I know that I can't just start there. So I'm going to start by talking about why it's so challenging to talk about what I want to talk about, and we are going to hope that that will eventually trail into what I wanted to talk about. But if not, we are going to love and appreciate this video for everything that it is, and we're going to follow that. I know where I would like to go, but I know where I have to begin, and I'm open to allowing the video to become itself, which is my style for writing stories, and that's my style of living my life more or less, and it's the style for this video as well. It might even be the style for all of my videos, and that's still a style that I'm working on honing and crafting. So if you guys are like, what the style of video is the best style of video, please let me know. But then also, I'll probably just keep developing this style in this direction anyway, because it's such a good style. It's such a good style of video. Oh no, I didn't bring my coffee. I don't have any coffee. Oh no, shoot. It's all the way in the kitchen. I don't trust it. Okay, we're gonna raw dog it for as long as I can, and then if I have to go get coffee, then I will. And then I can do that small little edit. We'll see. Oh, shoot. I'll never be happy. I'll never be happy. I'm not going to be a success anymore. Anyway. And make sure that I am recording. Okay. So. This is a fun one. I like this video. So. Okay. What I want to talk about by the end of this video is hard to talk about. Not because of the subject matter that's hard to talk about. For me, it's quite commonplace at one point, and it's going to be probably, I think, a lot of mental health sort of discussion vibes is where we're headed, is what my idea is, and then from there, all sorts of places. And I'm not worried about that. I'm not ashamed about mental health, or then anything about medications. There's just a lot of valuable information there I would like to pass on, and something that I do try and keep in mind is how much joy I get from making something that I wanted that I couldn't find. So if I could make a video talking about my own mental health experiences and showing how normal it can be, and as normal as it can be when presented in this particular medium, and nothing is normal when it is presented in this medium. So to the extent that this could be a normal thing, it's just. And plus, also, if a VTubing furry on the internet can't talk about mental health problems, no one can. I assure you, I am deeply qualified. Okay, so it's hard though, because I want to admit something to you. I don't love feeling alone. That's a human thing, not a big deal. And for a little bit, it I don't think it really gets in the way of my creative work, but I do feel like it kind of like sullies the purity of ambition. That's not quite the right words. Like the drive I have for doing something, because creative works have always fueled me for a tremendous time. But a lot of it, like a way bigger part than I'm even comfortable with, is absolutely, and I am checking my audio levels. Okay, I'm so nervous. But a big part of it is I've tried fitting in with other groups of human people, and it never really has worked. To some extent, that's on me for not bringing myself all of the way into the situation, because if I can't be honest with myself, I can't then go and expect to form really deep connections with other people when I go to like author meetups, or when I go to fur meets, or when I go to LGBT club at college. If I'm not on board with myself and I go somewhere else, I'm going to be not on board with that place, generally speaking. So that was absolutely a factor for me trying to go to different groups and then not fitting in. But also a lot of that is just an odd brain chemistry and not fitting in generally, and then there's so many factors go into that. And also I think maybe it's just I'm a human and all humans feel like they don't fit in, which is deeply unfortunate, but I think might be something about the human condition that we should all work together to correct, because I think that's a very unfortunate way for us all to be, but I kind of think all of us are that way, more or less. But a big part of not feeling like I've ever really fit in, well, actually, how do I want to start there, or we'll circle back to that. So we're going to pocket that I just have tried over and over and over to fit in with groups of people who share similar interests, who share different interests than me. I've been to party houses, spent a lot of time at party houses, fur meets. I was an author for a little bit, published author, but I tried going to author meets and we were talking about our books, and then that was like my social club for a little bit. And then the different bars I've been like a regular at, and then for a little bit that was a pocket of people. Like I've been in circles of people before, and I've never really just felt like I belonged in that people. So we're going to pocket that. I just haven't really felt like a member of a group. I had the idea several years ago. All right, then. I will just... So not even like I'll form my own group, because I don't know enough about myself or my interests to know what kind of group I would want to form. I'm not a very good planner of things. I'm bad at looking at a room and seeing possibilities of what I would like to customize this room to become. I can't do that. It's a room. What do you know? I'm very much, I have a male living space. I have 2 Whispers posters. I made a whole video about them, and they're just not even hung up right now because it's just, they don't add function to my room. So I don't need them. They're sitting on the floor in my bedroom. Just, what do I need a Whispers poster for? And it's like, well, I don't know, because you like it. I mean, sure, but that's not adding to my world, right? That's just it. That's a male living space. I love that subreddit so much. It's wonderful. No idea why I brought that up. Goodness gracious. I'm just going to take a second here. I wish I had my coffee, but maybe it's a good thing that I don't. I remember now I was talking about groups. I was enjoying the ambiance. Uh, yes. Well, actually, no, I don't want to rush it. I'm not ready to keep talking yet, so I'm going to keep, you know, looking at the city. It's a good city. It's a good city. I do want to get to the rest of the video, but for real, standing here right now, I'm just remembering, this is something that I was fighting for, and it feels really good to just be here again, just soak it in for a second. I'm gonna share it with you guys. Actually, I'm gonna fiddle around. I'm gonna share it with you guys. That sounds nice. I'm like backed right against the railing though. I will fall off and die. Yeah, we're gonna share it with you guys for a little bit. That'll be a fun treat for us both, I think. There we go. We like it. Now we can be inspired on all fronts, except not for me. I'm looking at the waterfall. There's like a little waterfall on this building. So, I had the idea some time ago. Actually, I'm not happy with where the camera is. I want the camera to go over here. And the fun thing about learning how to make videos is I can learn how to make videos any way that I want to make videos. And every video is a little bit of a different and special baby. Just like me. So, I had this theory. Because I don't know if I want to party, that's all I can think about is, party. And I don't know what that even means. I just imagine we'll invite people over and we'll have a party. And then my parties never live up to the expectation I had in my head because I only had the, ephemeral vibe of party in my head, but not any of the specifics. So when I go and it's not the party in my head, what? Like, come on, buddy, really? So to map out what kind of a community I would want to form, I'm bad at that. Like, oh wow, every Tuesday we're going to do a thing. And it's like, I don't know. I hate plans. Because what if Tuesday happens and I just feel like doing something else? And then I'll be stifled and I'll be in the wrong position. And then I'll be waiting for it to end. And then I'll have to cancel, but then I'm a flake. So then if I go anyway and I'm waiting patiently for it to end, or I make a polite appearance because I said that I would and then I go, am I doing disservice to myself and the people around me because I don't want to be there? I'm just doing it because I said that I would. Or is it more polite to cancel and be true to myself? That's one that's really hard for me. So I hate making plans. So if my community has on Thursdays we do a community night, I can't. I'm out. I'm out. You guys can enjoy that community. That's not me. I don't think that's even true though. I just don't know what I would want to schedule. Because maybe there's plans I could make every week that I would be super jazzed about, and I just haven't found what those things are. Anyway, we're gonna move past that part of forming a community. And what I imagine doing instead is just being me as loud as possible and allow other people who fit in with me to be with me. If I can't go and find people I fit in with, I'm just going to be here very loud and let other people find me, and then we'll all fit in. I can't find where the other people are. There's not clubs for people like Phineas Former that I found. I think theater kids might have been, or debate, but I missed both of those circles in high school. I just haven't really had the opportunity. But to stand in one space and just speak quite loudly and allow other people to find me, and from there, the community is formed, opposed to finding which community best fits me. That's a vision quest I've been on for several years. I gotta face this direction because I keep looking at a distracting part of the environment. And normally I don't like moving the camera around a whole bunch, but I just did. So we forgive me for that. And something I struggle with an odd amount genuinely is that initial quest where I wanted to write, or then it's just an idea. I didn't know how to put it in action, and streaming was part of that and is going to be part of that, and then making videos turned into part of that. because people around me, like everything I've just been saying, right? So I'm a little bit lamentful that it started from kind of a selfish place years and years ago, where I wanted to have people I fit in with. I couldn't find them, so I figured I would just be loud and allow the people I fit in with to find me instead. That's selfish. It's not like I want to form a community for other misfits, it's just I was tired of not having a community and not having people I felt like I fit in with, and I wanted that for me. So I started finding ways to project myself out, to be, myself as loudly as possible so others could find what I'm doing and form a community. For years, and that theory turned into writing and the different types of writing and writing short stories and doing serial fiction. And then streaming I've been fiddling with for several years, actually, trying to get better at it and learning what it means to me and trying to work on different projects for years under that working assumption, that basis that I wanted to put myself in a position for people to be able to find me. In time, that genuinely turned into making videos because I like making videos. This is fun. I like being in VR. It's really fun. I can do whatever I want. And it started also out of wanting just second monitor content, because what I do is my favorite genre of media, practically. And there wasn't enough of it, and there wasn't enough that looked like me, so I decided to make it, and I love it. It's so good. Have you seen my videos? They're so good. They're so good. Every one of them, not every one of them, but most of them. They're so they're so good. I don't think you're supposed to say that your own videos are good, but they're so good. I love them so much. I love what I do. It's a lot of fun. But every now and then, that old mentality of mine comes back. And I think it's still there because that's just a very human driver to want to not be alone. Never mind the fact that I still think so much of that is extra. Like, there's still friends. There's 2 friends I've made locally who I haven't invited over to my new apartment yet, and I haven't extended out, like, I feel like I want to make a new community, and if I'm having a hard time still forming in-person relations, then of course, like, there's internal work to be done before I can externally be satisfied with any community, and that's work that I still am working on. Like, that has to happen before I can find satisfaction in a community. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about what I'm talking about because, anyway. The thing is, because I have that mentality towards community and relations and needing to repair the relation within yourself before you can then work on building relations with other people in really meaningful ways, or you can't have a connection with someone else that's any more meaningful than the own connection you have within yourself, is also something that I feel, generally speaking, there's provisos and asterisks to that, but I feel that more or less. I'm losing the spirit of the video. I didn't want to edit, but I reached a thought that I think was a little bit chunky, and so I'm trying to get the chunk out, but I keep thinking about it and then delivering it in like 2 or 3 sentences at a time, and then stopping and thinking about it, which is better than choosing one word at a time, which is how I ordinarily get through chewy thoughts. So I think actually I'm just going to take a bigger break. We'll probably move the camera back because looking at the city is nicer for me. So I'll move the camera back. I'm going to go get my little coffee that I've been talking about not getting for a while. And I'm going to just formulate what I'm trying to say here. And then I'm going to come back and say it. And it's going to be so good. So I'm going to go get coffee. Are you kidding me though? My videos are so stinking good. They're so fun. I love them all. I think I have a lot of my favorite videos. I'm a simple boy. I'm a simple boy. I see Dancing Panther Man. Not Dancing Panther Man. I mean Panther Man who's struggling to open his big ol' thing of iced coffee he got at the store today. Ah, this is the life. This is living large. This is everything you ever needed it to be. You ever you ever find yourself watching a YouTube video and it's just a guy in VR gear, but like it's a virtual cat opening a can of iced coffee? Like, what are you doing watching this over here? What are you, champion among men? That's who you are. And me too, man. I'm a champion of men as well. That is a Dunkin' Donuts caramel iced coffee I got at work. It was marked down, and it's extremely sweet. It's not for me, but it was $2, and it's a giant thing. So here we go. So we're coming over this way now, back to where it all began. More or less. That's beautiful. It feels like being home. Right? Does it feel like being home? Oh, I never actually paused. Oh, I'm a mess. I never actually paused to formulate my thoughts. So I want to respect your time. I want to respect my time. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll walk back into the frame, and I'll know more about what it is that I'm saying. All right, I think I got it. So I want my creation to be pure, my art. I want to make things because I want to make them, not because I want people to love me. That is results-based worth, and if a video is a success only if it gets lots of comments, then if a video gets no comments, you're failed, and that's ultimately largely out of your control. There's things you can do to make a video that's more engaging, I'm sure. I don't know what those things would be, but I'm sure that you can I'm sure you can do it. And that's not how I enjoy finding satisfaction from things. It's hollow. It's not hollow. I take that back. But I just like finding worth in things that I can control, and I can control making a video that I personally am pleased with. And that's the frame I want to approach all of my art with, is to be able to get something out of my creative endeavors, to be able to push myself and learn something, and that's work that I really enjoy doing, and that means a lot more to me than just making a video and I want people to love me for it. And I do want people to love me, but also not for that. It's really hard to say. But these two pieces of me feel at odds, and I don't think that they need to be, but I don't know what to do with it. Because when I get the impression that I want, if it gets really popular, then that's the sense of community I've needed, and then if other people have needed a community too, then they also have a community, and it's my community. But if I'm really weird, and then people form around me, it would stand to reason that they're also really weird, so then they would have really weird buddies, because ain't no thing like me. And then if there's more things like me, then suddenly there's more things like me, and that's really cool and happy for everyone else. So there's some part there that's like, forming a community is not just for me not to feel alone. Other people could also feel less alone, and that's just going to be any community. It's not like mine is special. It's just I would love a place where I fit in, is all I'm really trying to say. And if that is my only motivation, then it looks like I'm making art for an artificial ends. And I wouldn't be putting my emotionality into the things that I make because I'm making them for an external purpose. I am only making art for a community if that's like an extreme end of the situation. And that's disgusting to me because human art is where spirit is. And that's creation. That's, the closest thing that people can do to being deities is making art. That's just my firm belief. So to go through that ultimately spiritual endeavor of making art to form a community No, you don't do art for an ends. You just that's the wrong way to do things, and I don't like that whatsoever. But I cannot make art and not want people to like it because I'm just a human buddy over here. And it's miserable making art. It's not miserable making art if no one sees it because you want people to see your stuff. It's like, hey, look, I made something, and then you want to be able to share that, and that feels really good. And somehow I demonize these weird parts of me, and I maybe it would be good to normalize because for a long time it was when I was trying really hard to learn about doing things for my own worth that I want to do it because I want to do it, not to form a community. So for the past few years, when I was trying to do art for an external reason, I would not do art because I wanted to learn we do this when it's personally satisfying and fulfilling, when we're getting something out of this. If we're making something because I feel like I should, no. Like, I never liked that. Make a story only because I need to make a story because I gotta have that, they gotta stay in the public eye and you gotta really stay relevant. And I don't like that. That just feels wrong. And whenever I caught myself doing that for the past handful of years, I would not. Because that's not the motivation that I enjoy from my art. Now, I'm at a point where it's kind of just coalesced. Like, I'm no longer treating art, or at least video craft, but art generally as this massively precious outlet that's really near and dear to me. It's like, no, all of my videos are beautiful and precious little babies, including this one. And different styles for all sorts of different things, and I'm loving it. That's great. And I don't have to try really hard. It doesn't have to be a super precious thing. And also, it can be okay if people are like, what? Super cool video, bud. And I'm excited to see where that goes. Or, like, it's okay for there to be a community that forms, because it's in the name, Phineas Former. Hello. And it's time, I think, for me to shed that harsh guardrail I've put on myself. Because I know how to make art only because I want to make it. I've focused for years on learning that style of motivation. But that's not all I need anymore, and that's not all I can get away with anymore. Because I'm sharing what I'm doing, and that's just super duper fun, and I love sharing what I'm doing, and I don't want to be sharing, but then also be super aloof and distant and just weird and gross about, like, I don't talk about my art. And it's like, no, I will happily talk about my art. Look at my art. What? Look at my art's blue fucking leg. You would talk about this too if you could. It sounds like so much fun to talk about my art. That's why I'm talking about my art right now. Phineas Former is an art form, I tell you what. And now, we do find ourselves beginning to get to what I wanted to talk about by the end of the video. Because not very many people talk really openly and honestly about mental health. Somehow it's still really stigmatized. It's better now than it ever used to be, but it's still just not as commonplace, I think, as I would like for it to be. Because there's no shame in having a weird brain at all. And that just seems nice to talk about. And it's easy. I'm adjusting my power cord when I do that. But it's easy to imagine a world, and I dislike this imagination. So I'm going to admit to you what the imagination is, and then we're going to talk about that I dislike it, theorize why I dislike it, because maybe it's a little bit similar, where it's an old mentality of mine that I had to shun away for a while in order to learn something different, similar to how I used to only need to be able to make art for me and not have an idea about community whatsoever, and maybe it's time to bring those together. So I'm curious if there's also this other side of things that I need to bring all together. And the reason what I'm about to say feels so gross to me is because what I do with my art is an emotional endeavor. It's an emotional expression, and then I'm learning how to be more comfortable with myself and how to express myself and how to put words together in ways that I haven't really put them together before, and to see how well am I communicating those thoughts, how can I do a better job. I'm learning so much, and it's all deeply emotional work to me, and I love it so very much. I'm about to apply logic to that system, which feels gross. And I've talked a little bit about that in the past, so I'm not going to go into it too much now. It's just I'm going to voice a few ideas that I don't love, and then we're going to talk about why I don't love them. Because the harem video went pretty well recently, and then I have more subscribers than I used to have. And it stands to perfect logical reason that if you strike while the iron's hot, and you get a really good banger of a video, and then you have like more eyeballs, and so then if the eyeballs are like, what? More things for my eyeballs to be on? And it just feels like a natural progression of things. If you can get your next couple videos to be really good, then you take the momentum and it's doing the thing, and that's how you form your community that you've been wanting for years and years and years, so that you can feel less alone. And all of these voices that I don't agree with, but they just come up, they just show up, and I don't like that. And that puts strange pressure that the videos following a video that went well have to go really, really well, and I don't like that one bit. Let the videos all just be themselves. And there's only going to be one time, and I'm talking about like mental health, and I've been kind of like weirdly cagey about it. So I have bipolar disorder, and it was like 10, 20, 15, not 20 years, like 15 years ago maybe I got diagnosed, something like that. And we'll talk more about that ideally by the end of this video. I just want to drop that off real quick, because I'm only going to be able to talk about having bipolar disorder for the first time once on this channel. But then still it's talking about it publicly. So it's the first time I'm doing something. So it's like, I hate this so much. I hate this mentality. But if I'm in a window where it's really important to get a really good video, more eyeballs, because there's eyeballs more than there has been. So if I can get a really good video out, and so now's the time to burn one of the firsts, one of the big ones. Oh, we've been saving up the bipolar disorder saga until such a time as it's valuable. And right now, aha, opportunity is here. It's time to burn the only time I will be able to talk about having bipolar disorder for the first time. And this is the time to do it, because another video happened to go well recently. So we're going to keep that going by burning a valuable resource. And we're putting our bets on is now the right time to tell that story and to try and manufacture a circumstance for channel growth. What? No. Because also what happened to The Voice, where I want to normalize just talking about mental health. Some of my favorite comments are, I'm honored that you guys like the giggle, but it's actually super sweet. And thank you guys for the comments on that, and any of the comments on the videos. I super duper appreciate them. They're great. But it's fun. It's been fun. This has been a blast. Thanks for being around. It's super duper fun. But my favorite comments are any of the ones where people are saying that they feel a little bit less alone, or it's interesting hearing a good amount of you guys have said that it's the first time that their internal thoughts were seen reflected in someone else, that I'm speaking and people are like, oh, what? No one else is saying this. And that's happened more than once, and that's super cool. And what I love is I'm in the position to be able to. I'm good with my words, reasonably secure enough in myself to be able to say them without feeling weird and shy about it for the most part. It can be hard saying some of this stuff because I'm still pretty new to it, but I absolutely have that capability. And where already there's been comments where people are like, oh wow, this is, they just love the honesty and the things, me talking about what's going on. And it's like, I got you, buddies. I will talk more. I don't know how I'll pull it off, but I'll suffer. I'll go through the arduous. It's an arduous task. That's ardor. I will talk. I will do it. I will use my words. I will go get my iced coffee. Gosh, it's too sweet for me. It's way too sweet for me, guys. It's way too sweet, but I'm a desperate man. Desperate for community. Also, I have excellent news. My iced coffee happened to be right next to where one of my tracker dongles is, and it was my left arm tracker, because I figured out it was in a bad position, and my left arm kept like glitching out a whole bunch, and I was like, why? Stop. And it's because the tracker was in a bad position, so I moved it, and it happened to be right next to where my iced coffee is, and so far, no arm glitches. So we're happy for so many reasons in this video. It's such a good video. But as I was saying about having bipolar disorder, and you're only going to be able to talk about that for the first time once. And the timing happens to work out pretty nicely. So there's the gross way of looking at things, but then also there's just the standard ass. First of all, it's something that I think just would be good for the channel to have, and on the chance that it's good for someone, like, what I want to talk about is something that I would have deeply valued 10 years ago when I was struggling with it. I'm in a world that I was struggling to envision, and now it's not a struggle anymore, but I'm looking at something which once inspired me, and now I'm here living it, and it's not something I'm aspiring to anymore. Like, living in a city is still something I would love to do, but just being here, I don't feel that same yearn because it's not unattainable anymore. It's something I'm working towards. But the fact that I can talk about these things, I feel like I kind of have to, in a way, because not everyone can. And my old mentality of it has genuinely stopped me from making this exact video, and also just videos in general recently. Because for a while, because my uploads have been a little bit more sporadic than I want them to be, and genuinely it is because of this exact system I'm describing to you now, where the parts of me that want to handle details and yearn for community, and you don't want to mess it up, because what if you make a really bad video and people unsubscribe and you're going backwards? And there's so many human concerns with all of this. And when a human concern comes in, I have for the past several years, about 2, I'd say, ish, distanced myself from it because I don't want the human concerns to fiddle with my emotional work. And that has stopped me from performing my emotional work. And why does it have to be only one or the other? And then if I want to talk about just having bipolar disorder and where that came from, and what medication has been like, and then how it's affected my relationships, and then how that's helped to inform my sense of emotionality, there's so much that goes into that. I want to tell all of it, and the human concerns wants to only tell it in a really good way, in the right opportune moments, so that everyone sees it. It's a flash-in-the-pan success, and people go nuts, and the crowd goes wild, and then I have a sense of community, and I'm not alone anymore. And it's like, oh my god, if that's the driver for a sense of community, if you feel alone without community, you will not feel unalone without community. Fuck off. Alas, the voice is still part of me. It's totally still there. And I kind of think the only way to move forward is to do it anyway. Make the video that I want to make and talk about the things I want to talk about, but it's important to acknowledge the gross approach a decent part of me has towards it. Because otherwise, I'm going to look at the video and be like, it had a secret ambition, and so I wasn't being really honest, but it was an honest video, so then it feels like I blew the load of the first time I can tell my bipolar story, and I wasn't honest about it. And but then if I don't, so eh eh. So that's why this entire first half of whatever ish, however long, um, that's why it's been as long as it is I had to ease into telling the story about what that is so I could express the honesty of the moment that we're about to enter into, where I do want to talk a little bit about my mental health and some of what brought me here. Because especially as more people are coming into the channel and they're like, oh wow, what, Phineas Former, this guy is so great. And it's like, well, I mean, first of all, yes, you are absolutely correct. You've done a good job. But also, that just seems like a really prudent time to make sure if anyone wants to know more about what, then there you go. You're right. That's information that's available. And that feels really important for me to make sure that other people have also. So I talked about the fullness of my approaches here, that it's stuff I want to talk about emotionally and personally to be satisfied by, but also there's a feeling that it's super secret special and I'm burning a rare and valuable resource. It's the first time it's like So now you guys know that that's a factor also that I don't love, but I also don't love that I don't love it. I don't know what to do. But we are going to talk about bipolar disorder anyway, which I've tried doing only once before. And it was, I think, a 2.5 hour, maybe 3. No, it was about 2.5 hour filming, and then I streamed for 30 minutes just to kill off the battery on the headset, because I was like, well, we're in this deep, so let's go for it. And that was excellent. I tried editing that together, and it was choppy and hard to edit because I didn't even expect to be talking about it. And I think that was me learning that it's okay to talk about that stuff on camera. But now that I've talked about it on camera to myself, it's easier to talk about it on camera to now. So that's what this is and why it is. But I want a fresh perspective. So I'm going to walk out of frame. And then I don't know if I want to go. It looks like that we're going to go to a different angle I've never been to before. And then we're going to start talking a little bit more about bipolar disorder. And I don't actually even know how long this video is going to be. And I'm not going to worry myself too much about that. We're just going to set sail and let it be exactly what it is and what I want it to be and what it needs to be, because we're listening to the video right now, not to me. And what the video calls for is to be inside. So we're going to go inside and go from there. Look at how homey and cozy this is. It's homey and cozy for you. Look at my fantastic Skyline Penthouse living room. It's cozy at me because I can look at the city. This is everything that we ever wanted it to be. So, yeah, I guess we will get right to it. So first off, when talking about mental health of any sort, I cannot stress the importance. Do not say of someone or of yourself, I am bipolar or I am ADHD, because ADHD is very much what people are talking about. And so when I ever talk about ADHD, it all comes under the frame of reference of having bipolar disorder and having learned how to work with that for my entire life. And a lot of the tools that come with handling that cluster of challenge helps with ADHD, and they often do go hand in hand, but you have to be careful with medication, because stimulant medication, if you have a manic depressive brain chemistry, you have to be really careful with how all of that works. But do not say, I am ADHD. I am bipolar. No, you are a human person, full and complete. Even if you're broken, you can't, whatever. but don't. You are a person who has. You are not the embodiment of ADHD. You are not bipolar as I live and breathe. The walking. You are not anthropomorphic mental disorder. You're a human who has ADHD. You have bipolar disorder. That's very important. And it's a very little quirk of language. I think most people aren't even realizing what it means when they use the language they do. I cannot stress this enough. You have a disorder. I am not my disorder. No one is their disorder. So they have bipolar disorder. First, I think I'll give a little bit of my pedigree of having bipolar disorder. I have two stories in particular. The first one is I finished Twilight, the book Twilight, long ago, and I was so entranced, and it was all I could think about. It was everything I was that I made my dear sweet mother. Actually, yeah, sure. But I made my dear sweet mother drive me at like 2 o'clock in the morning to Walmart so I could buy New Moon because I had to keep reading it. And that's a very patient mother thing to do when you're just extremely enthusiastic son. I need the next Twilight book now. And she's like, okay, well let's go handle that instead of, not. And that was really cool. And another time, it was also very early in the morning, like 1 or 2 at night. And I used to live in a basement, um, and the ceiling was unfinished. It had like rafters or whatever, it goes on top of an unfinished basement. And I decided that I needed change, and things are broken and out of my control, and I needed to live somewhere that was nicer than where I did before. So I bought tons of fabric super late at night, and I stapled fabric to my ceiling so that I no longer had an unfinished ceiling. And everybody was like, so Phineas, I noticed you have fabric on your ceiling now. And I was like, yeah, it's better, don't you think? And no one thought it was better because it was not better, because no one should be stapling fabric to their ceiling at 2 in the morning. And that's a little bit of some of the territory that I have come from in the past. And when I got diagnosed, I had just like a month prior or 2 months prior walked out of my job because it was too stressful. I was an assistant manager at Papa John's, and I haven't really thought about this in a while. This is kind of fun. And couldn't handle it. I was just in an exceptionally bad way, and I left because my safety net lived about a 45-minute drive south. And so I went, and work was a really damaging, like I could not pull it off, as in like I needed to get out. And so I went and hung out with my friends and just assessed a few things because it represented the most recent time I had tried to get a handle on things in life, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't make work go the right way. I was struggling with my sexuality at that point. I kept falling for like people who would have been friends. I was just falling for, and I couldn't figure out how to not fall for straight people. And that was a really hard one for a really long time. And a lot of things were super untenable. I didn't know that I had bipolar disorder, but I was just extremely moody, and holy balls, it was a lot to go through. And I couldn't handle work, which was defeating because a good, honest, simple life is go to work to pay for whatever lifestyle it is that you require. So you can be content and satisfied in a job that's not soul crushing, that you have enough, Like right now, I'm in a very excellent position where I don't need to be working a full 40 hours. I can just afford all of the things that I need, the roof over my house, my head and stuff. And then I was very blessed um, living with my sister for a little bit, so rent was more affordable, so I could save up for all of my VR gear to be in the position where I am now. I've had so much help to get where I am, and I'm very blessed to be able to live that life I just described, where you have to work only enough to be able to afford the lifestyle that's important to you, to bring about personal fulfillment. And that day when I walked out of my first ever job, I was almost first ever job, but the first one was in high school and it was rinky dink, and so it hardly counts. We were a bunch of punk kids and we were part of a cleaning crew. Phineas, stay on task. But when I could not handle work enough to pay a meager amount of bills, fuel the lifestyle that was important to me, and at that point it was, let's be honest, drinking with friends and having partners in misery, because that feels negligibly better than being alone in misery, and just being generally unhappy but doing the best that I could. And work was not part of that. And all of the people around me are able to go to work and have jobs. And the fact that I couldn't do what a bare minimum is to function in the society we live in. And it wasn't having a bad day at work. It was like, this is the same general period of time where I was going to drive to my safety net house where some of my really best friends lived. And I had to pull over on the side of the freeway and call Trevor Project, which is famously the LGBT suicide hotline. And the guy just talked me through on the freeway for like 20, 25 minutes. It was an absolute godsend. And that would be the charity I would 100% just like donate support to the most. Massive belief for what they do. Firsthand experience on that. And that's the kind of brain that we're dealing with right now, is someone who did not have it together and was not able to figure it out on his own. So I thought I would go to college. Not because I wanted a degree. It might have been a little bit because Dad kept being like, so are you going to go to school? You should go to birth. And that was a little bit of it. But for the most part, it was, well, I can't make work happen and I don't know what's going on, so I'll just take out student loans, go to school so everyone thinks I have my life together, because I'll be able to say, I'm going to college, I have this, I'm going for it. And I did go for electrical engineering, because that sounds really impressive, up until you have to start taking trig and dealing with sine waves in a realistic, and you're measuring like seconds are actually degrees in a circle, and you're dealing with pi, and it's not 3 pi. You're dealing with, it's a 270 degree, no. So then I stopped going to school for electric engineering. No thank you. But that first semester, I had 2 of the easiest classes known to man. They were University 1105 and English 1010. And I'm pretty good with words. At least I love bastardizing them in video, you know. So I passed that. I got a C. And my University 1105, I think it was like an introduction to university or something like that. It was only offered to first-year students, and it's a class where you take notes about taking notes. It was basically participation-based. It was one of the easiest classes known to man, and because it was participation-based, I couldn't do it. It was way too much to show up and just be a human shape in a room of humans who are getting along and able to pull off this, and I could not. And when I realized, hang on, University 1105, the easiest class, is too much for me, I took 2 of the easiest classes, and I barely passed half. Then it's like, okay, well, now I really can't figure this out on my own. Something is deeply wrong. So I went to the mental health like little behavioral therapy, whatever section it was in the university I attended. Had one session with the therapist, and it was either that session or no, it was so one of the other ones ran late, which is a super no-no. But there was some excellent groundwork being broken there. I think it was maybe like the second or third time I saw that therapist. And there was another kid who was waiting, and I didn't realize that my appointment had run over so long, but it was like 30, 40 minutes beyond. I don't remember how long. It was definitely like my session ran long. But the therapist had made that judgment call that whatever was happening in our session, whatever we were working through, was valuable enough to the point to make that call, which I disagree with, but I benefited from it, and I got so much from that session. So I respect the decision of the professional for making the decision that she did. But I felt so bad, and still do, for the kid who was in line for therapist, and then I was there for too long. Anyway, that was a great session, though. That really was. That it stuck with me to this day. Oh, I'll recount that story another time. I have to remember what. I haven't thought about that for a while. Anyway, one session with the therapist, and it's like, so okay. One session with the therapist, and then she's like, so I would like to recommend you to the psychiatrist, and a therapist is often going to be a psychologist. I think I'm getting this right. And psychologist is someone who went to school for all of the brain stuff. And then a psychiatrist is a psychologist who can prescribe medication. I think. But we're going to go with that. And I'm pretty sure that's right. And there were a few therapists, but there was only one psychiatrist for the school. And that's generally how it goes. You have to get... appointments for therapy can take a long time, but especially depending on your insurance and all sorts of everything, you'll be in wait for a few months for a psychiatrist. So if you miss that appointment, that sucks. And if you get a psychiatrist who you guys don't get along with, that sucks. And I've tended to gotten pretty lucky with my doctors, and also lucky with my diagnoses. He nailed bipolar disorder right away, damn near nailed the medication right away. So we'll get to that too. And that's going to be coming up pretty quickly here. So we'll just stay on task, one thing at a time. I'm going to go walk over to my iced coffee, though, so. And now it's time for a story break from my story break, because right next to my iced coffee was my rainbow tail. You can't see it. But I assure you, I'm holding a rainbow tail. It has a carabiner, Phineas. What are you doing? What are you doing? It has a carabiner, and I clip it on my bags, but I only recently realized that you can clip it to yourself. And so I clip it to myself, not on the back, because humans don't have tails. That's silly. But if you put it on the side, it's an accessory. And then if it's on the side, I can see it all the time and be like, oh, look, it's my little rainbow carabiner tail. And this thing has seen some action. It is tattered and just dirty and well lived. It's got stories, and this was sitting also on the desk next to my tracker dongle, which is in a better placement now, and my iced coffee. And I put down my iced coffee, and then I saw the tail, and I thought, story break time for a story. And then I told you about my tail that you cannot see. If I'm feeling creative, you can see it. So this is my tail. Thanks for letting me share with you my tale, by the way. That was fun. That was so nice of you guys. Thanks for listening to my story. But now let's get back to my story. And so the psychiatrist spent pretty much the whole session listening, like, psychiatrist supposed to do, ask a couple questions, and I just talked about whatever. And towards the end, he said, so I have an idea. And I'm like, shoot, doc, I'm nothing I'm doing is working, so lay it on me, doc. And then he's wanted what do you think I want to bring up? He didn't ask me what I think about it. He just, gosh, I don't even remember the specifics of it, but brought up bipolar disorder. And I had an immediate, like, no, that doesn't seem right at all. And it's like, I don't know. Have I been stapling fabric to my ceiling lately? Eh? Or failing University 1105, or walking out of jobs, or calling Trevor Project. Like, buddy, there might be something. There might be something going on, and maybe the trained professional knows more than you do, which is something that I had to rationalize out for a while. It didn't take me too long to come to grips with it, but for a long time I was operating on a belief that I didn't know how to handle life. I could not live life. So I had to trust somebody, and I decided I'll trust the doctor to know more about what's going on with me than I do, because I don't. Very excellent decision, but it was really hard for months to just, I hope this guy's knows what he's up to. And he did. Nailed the diagnosis right away. And I guess bipolar disorder really frequently gets confused with depression based on the type of bipolar disorder you have. And there's two types of bipolar disorder. Bipolar 1 is the really more classic manic depressive, and those are the people who are going to be a little more likely to take out tens of thousands of dollars of credit cards to go on shopping sprees or feel like they're invincible, and that's like the proper mania bipolar disorder, and that's the just what most people think of as bipolar disorder. And then there's bipolar 2, which is more classified by, okay, a lot of this is actually rusty secondhand, and I think they might have just like taken away the classifications. It's all just kind of like bipolar disorder now. But how bipolar disorder manifests within me was much more depressive, which is how bipolar disorder can go as a sleeper agent. People are be medicated for depression, sometimes for a really long time, and the meds don't work. They try different meds, they don't work, and because bipolar disorder operates differently. And type 2 is just more depressive, and you'll enter into more of like what is a hypomanic phase. Instead of going like whoosh, then you just go like wah, blah, 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 blah. And you also get, of course, quite depressed with type 1 as well. I'm getting all of that super wrong. I'm pretty sure I haven't gone to bipolar disorder school for a really long time, because genuinely, before like a month ago, maybe two, no, a month, I hadn't thought about it for years. Not an issue, just a standard part of life. And I've come to understand more about my emotionality, when we're taking it easy, when it's go time. And it's just me. So I stopped worrying about, for a while, it was a huge detriment to me, guys. Feeling like I'll never be able to have a relationship, or I'll never be able to hold down a steady job, or it's always going to be this thing that's really plaguing me, and I have to learn how to handle this, and it was super duper unfair, and none of my friends had this handicap in life, and I felt like just broken. And it's like, no, just, oh, that's really hard times to go through. And it's a little bit of a testament of how much life has happened since, and how much I've grown since, that I no longer remember what it was like to be in that place. All I can do is recount that I was, and talk about some of the actions insofar as I even remember them, because so much is lost to time. But I struggled with having bipolar disorder for a really, really long time. And it had been years since I had even considered it. I hadn't thought to consider it, because I just know, you're going to have good days, and then you're going to have bad days. And then for a while it was bad years, and then it turned into bad months. And then I realized through proper amounts of meditation and just being mindful that when you spike really badly, and for a while, a spike emotionally was, you're stapling fabric to your ceiling, or you are like, you haven't showered for 19 days, and that's good. Like, it's rough. But when you're more mindful of an emotional spike, you can learn what it's like to weather a deep emotional storm. And you can feel really spiky and do nothing about it. that's really hard to pull off. But when you are able to, then that's how you can ultimately come to there's a tremendous emotional spike, either, feeling positively or feeling negatively. And you can just respect it and let it do its thing. And then you can resume after. And I've gotten a little bit better at being able to operate still during a spike. That one's really hard to do. And I'm still not the best at it, man. So usually it's just, I'm going to sit this one out 20 minutes usually, and I'm good. Plus or minus. Sometimes it's as low as like a minute or two, though. And I used to, a minimum of a couple weeks to recover from such an emotional spike. Minimum, it used to be bad. And now, when I just like, oh, gotta go take a breather, this is just a little bit, and suppose that's like 2 minutes, and I'm like, ready to go. I was like, are you kidding me right now? What? So that's really cool. But back to what I was saying with my diagnoses earlier. And my doctor was very clear not to distinguish between like type 1 or type 2. He just said bipolar disorder, and that's, I think, the better way to go about it. And I don't love that I went into it because I broke down it to the best of my knowledge, and I'm wrong. I don't know enough of what I'm talking about. So, like, I don't think I should have said anything that I was just saying. It's my experiences, but I'm not a psychiatrist, even a little bit. I took AP Psych. I got 4 out of 5, so I passed, but my AP Psych teacher got really mad because she knew, Phineas Former, if you tried even a little bit, you would have gotten a 5. And it's like, I got a 4, didn't I? And I didn't have to try. And she looked at me, and I was like, eh? So that is my AP Psych story. The only thing I really remember is a psychological prototype, which I actually use that a lot when you think about a chair. There's something that either pops up in your head, either a chair you would see or like what the intellectual embodiment of a chair stands for in your mind. And that's a prototype. And then you would like adjustments to it. But when you think like picture a tree, that is a prototypical tree. What you think of in your head in psychology, that's a prototype of a tree. That's called prototype. So I remember that. I also remember the amygdala, which everyone will be able to tell you. Amy G. Dalla is an angry woman, and I am afraid of her. Because the amygdala is the part of the brain that deals with anger and fear. And that is Amy G. Dalla, and I am afraid of her because she's an angry woman. And those are the only 2 things I remember from AP Psych. Anyway, you guys aren't listening to the story of my diagnosis, for crying out loud. You've been so supportive up until now, and I really wish that we could get back on topic. So my doctor says, bipolar disorder, and I say, no, doc, you've got me all wrong. I don't have bipolar disorder. I'm just one standard deviation away from every human person I've ever seen spread across multiple interactions, because every person or friend group I've ever lain witness to seem to have a different emotional response to any given stimuli than I do. If someone's broken up with, people tend to react differently. In moments of fear, people react differently than I do. People will say different things, and they respond differently, and everyone is on the same wavelength. They all are just seeing things and sharing a world that I don't share with them, even though it feels really close, and I've spent a lot of time down converting, or just, it feels like down converting, but how to translate my thoughts into speech that other people are able to use, so I can communicate with other people, but I've never learned how to up-convert what someone else says to my language. I'm one standard deviation away, and I don't know what else to call that, but that's me, doc. I don't have bipolar disorder. I just have all of that. And he just looked at me, and I've never been looked at that way before. He looked at me, and he just, there's a word for that. And then I looked at him, and I knew, and I didn't like that. And I sighed, and then he looked at me, and then I was like, is that word? And he's like, do you want to know the word? And he's like, is it bipolar? It's like, yeah, that's what we call that. We call that bipolar disorder. And I was like, well, I don't. But, there we go. Uh, and then he brought up ideas of talking about medication. And I was initially really against being medicated because it was that standard, some of you guys might feel similar here, where my brain is my world. Like all of my perceptions of my reality is in my head. So altering my head chemistry, I didn't love because I don't want anything in me to change. Because for as unlivable as the world was, my internal world is remarkably rich. And I was deeply hesitant to mess that up. And he assured me the medication I'm on is lamotrigine, is the generic, or Lamictal. And I think it was like still more recent when I got diagnosed. Prior to Lamictal, the big name for bipolar medication was lithium, which is much more drastic and harsh, and there's more side effects, and that's like a heavy, like lithium is rough, and Lamictal is way more just goodness gracious. It's the chief before and after life was not worth, like life was not livable, and then just even 1 month life was livable, and we had to like fine tune the medication a little bit, but nailed the right medication right away. And I was so hesitant to allow myself to be put on medication. And part of it was not just I don't want to alter my brain chemistry, because I could get over that, because my brain chemistry was not working. It was helping me fail college and staple fabric. like, and I was getting really tired of breaking my phones. I'll never forgive Motorola for having a phone that was so durable, and also my aim for being so garbage that I was in a deeply emotionally distressed part of my life in that basement again. I don't remember if this was before or after I stapled the fabric. And I threw my phone as hard as I could and missed, and just like like deflected. And I just, if you've ever been really mad, so mad that you want to throw your phone and break it, and it doesn't break, you get mad. And getting more mad does not help you throw a phone more accurately against the wall. And that little phone, dude, I think it took like 4 to 6 times to just properly darve. And Motorola, you did a good job, but you made an upset little lad who has bipolar disorder very annoyed on that day. But that was a good hearty phone. Anyway, I don't have bipolar disorder. I just have all of this other stuff. And I was really hesitant to. No. Yeah, good. Really hesitant to. And I was really hesitant to get on medication. Part of it was because I didn't like the discourse I had heard where some people lean into mental disorder and turn that into their personality and use it as an excuse or a scapegoat. Like, oh, sorry, I have bipolar disorder. Or those are the people who would say, I'm bipolar, and use it to explain really crappy behaviors or to use it to limit themselves. And I didn't want to be part of that club. And then having medication felt like that put me in the club. And it's just always so grossed me. I didn't want to be part of that. And the doctor listened to most of it and then just kind of like could tell I was running in circles. And said, so first of all, in his experience, that type of person, if they do exist, are very rare. And in between, that's just people you hear about sometimes and people who you think exist, but that's not reflective of a reality. But what he said next has stuck with me for all of this time really clearly is, so what? Like, if those people did exist all of the time, everywhere, what does that have to do with you? And I was like, well, I don't know. And he's like, okay, well, let's take some time here. And if you think of anything, you let me know. And there was nothing that other people's behaviors or attitudes about like if they have bipolar disorder or mental disorders, and then if they're taking medication or not, and then which ones, and if they have an identity in their misery. Like, what other people do has nothing to do with me. Their job is not my job. Their mental health is not my mental health. I'm not part of their club because I happen to have bipolar disorder. That's on me. Like, it's my ecosystem, my mental health, my brain, my meds, my situation. What other people are doing has nothing to do with me. And I'm not part of a club. If I don't want to be part of the club, like, so what? And I just, okay. But then also, life wasn't working for me. And so if the guy I'm trusting says bipolar disorder, and then he listened to me when I described bipolar disorder without the name, and then he's like, yep, we call that bipolar disorder. Generally, there's way more that goes also into that, but this is a nutshell video, man. Are you kidding me? So we're good here in our loose explanations so far of bipolar disorder, but here we go. We're move on. So anyway, Lamictal, or lamotrigine is the generic, was the wonder drug for me, and a lot of people really do consider it to be. It's also used for seizures, oddly enough, and I think it started more as a seizure medication, and then somehow it works really well for bipolar disorder too. I don't know how. But there's a principle in medicine called, especially mental health, minimum effective dose, where you want your medication to help, but only to the point where you don't feel it. And you're at the right dose, where it doesn't feel like it's doing anything, but you're not crazy. For lack of better description, like that's not a polite way to put it. But if it doesn't feel like your meds are doing anything, that's what you want. Barely where it needs to be. Minimum effective dose. And my dosage is 400 milligrams, which is high. And I think no more than 800 is the thing. And usually about 200 is as max as typically goes. But there's 3 blood tests that judge levels because it's a blood level medication. And it's glucose lipid panel, something like that. But for me, that's where I'm in the appropriate range, is at 400, and 200 was a little bit just underneath that. And what happened there is the meds were helping a tremendous amount, but I still had a episode about a month right after I started getting on the medication, which was helping, but then I had another episode, and the doc's like, okay, so we'll just tool this a little bit. And then I was also put on Seroquel. I think that was 200 milligrams. Oh no, Seroquel was, I don't remember how much the Seroquel was, just one tablet. I have no idea. But Seroquel is a mood, an emotion, a dampener. And I loved it because it made everything more dull and a little bit foggy, and it slowed me down to allow me to live life and be able to enjoy parts of it, because I didn't know how to apply my own brakes. I had no idea how to do any of this. And the lamotrigine on its own helped make things more manageable. And then by then I was still also titrating up and finding the correct dose. So we applied Seroquel and then also upped the lamotrigine, and then that was my cocktail for a few years, honestly. And we dropped Seroquel just when I no longer needed it, because the medicine helped me learn to manage challenged emotional states. So then if you dropped the Seroquel just when I no longer needed help regulating my emotions in that way, because I wasn't going lightning speed all of the time. So that's just, some of how medicines can change, stuff like that. Similar thing with my experience being medicated for ADHD, which is a diagnosis that came several years after bipolar disorder, is my experience with stimulant medication helped me with the tool sets and to develop what it's like to have working habits while I do have ADHD. And so then during periods where I do not have access to the medication, then how can I still apply the principles that I learned? And it's helped me feel much less debilitated because I had the experience with that medication. So I can operate better also without it, which does not work with bipolar disorder though, because the Lamictal, I've been on that still religiously for like well over a decade, and that's my usually it's about 3 days. If I ever run out and there's a lapse in that, then that's when I can start to like kind of feel like, hey, hang on, things are, we're feeling a little bit more unstable than usual, which is neither here nor there. But that's, I don't know. I kind of think also important for anyone out there who does have questions about medications and stuff. So, now you know that. Also, fun fact, a key side effect for Seroquel is weight gain because it takes away the part of your body that says, hey, I'm full. You never feel like you're full. So people just eat and eat and eat, not feeling like they're full because Seroquel took that away. You don't have the part of you. So I did not want to gain weight. And I actually ended up losing weight while I was on Seroquel because I figured I don't care what the side effects of the medicine are. Biologically, it's still going to be a food go in, weight happens. So I can't gain weight more than what I eat. That's just, So I started riding the bike a lot more because I did not want to gain weight. But I also just was very religious for like 2 years or so with keeping a actual like kind of a record of, okay, I'm hungry right now. I just barely had a bagel. It's 11 o'clock. So I ate a bagel about an hour ago, so I don't need any more food right now because one bagel is enough to get a human through 2 hours on just a bagel before I have to eat again. And I was really, that's how I viewed food for a few years. And I ended up losing weight that way, but I also just kind of felt permanently a little bit hungry, which itself also helped develop a strong sense of willpower. Because in the past, whenever I've quit smoking, and I haven't had a cigarette for several years now, I just quit cold turkey, not a big deal. And it's like, yes, I permanently crave a cigarette. To this day, I love hanging out with smokers. Oh, the gentleman who I might be in a harem about, actually, he smokes. Rarely, but I love sitting on the patio and curling up against him, and then he's smoking his American Spirits, and I used to smoke American Spirits, and my body misses it, and I just take the deepest, and it just, like, I've never taken as deep breaths as ever, and my body, like, is like, yes, I remember the days, and I'm not worried about, like, the second hand, like, it's fine, and it's kind of nice. Anyway, that is also neither here nor there. Phineas, stay on topic. Maybe maybe a little bit of iced coffee will help me stay on topic. Don't judge me. Unless you're going to judge me positively, in which case, please judge me. And if you judge me positively, let me know in excruciating detail. Just kidding. If you want to, you can. But actually, maybe don't judge me at all. That feels weird. We're going to roll right on past that. Although also, if you judge me, I will just judge you back. But if you've made it this far into the video, then I judge you to be of exceptional character and high quality and good stature. Well done to you. I kind of think that's it, though. Learned how to handle my mood spikes over time. No longer needed Seroquel, and I think I was actually prescribed that clear up until there was like a medication lapse of some sort, like a coverage lapse, and I needed to get back on the Lamictal, or then the Seroquel drop off, or I just no longer felt like I needed it. Because at a certain point, when I was no longer running on, like when I was feeling really elevated, Seroquel helped slow me down. Seroquel did slow me down so I could actually enjoy life. But when I was no longer so elevated by my mood after it had more reached a stable point, then Seroquel was holding me down to the point that I was unable to live life because I was a little bit too foggy. So it was no longer correct at that point. I don't remember exactly how that came about. I do miss Seroquel a lot though because it numbed all of the emotions, and I'm such an emotional boy. Every now and then, you just want your emotions to be numb, which is why I have experience as an alcoholic, and I love it. And whiskey fixes all of your problems. It's so good. It's so good. Spend 20, 25 bucks on a bottle, and you don't have any problems. There's a reason I don't drink like I used to. I was being actually not even. It causes problems. But if you decide to run away, whiskey will do the job. Okay, anyway, Phineas, stay on topic, buddy. Maybe it's time to be done with the video soon, because I'm having a harder time staying on topic, and I still want to be able to edit this and stuff. So, I'm gonna think for a sec here. Also, I've been on my feet pretty much all day, and I just like stretched a little bit and reached down in VR to like stretch my body, and then I noticed my feet, and I'm in VR, and so I had fun furry feet, and I wanted to tell you guys how happy that made me, because VR is really cool, and having a persona that you identify with is also super duper cool. I recommend it wholeheartedly. I'm still so happy I spent $100 on this, getting this professionally done, and my artist did such a bang up good job. And it means the world to me having a body that I feel happy with, and I'm not unhappy with the body that I do have, but my body is not a cute as a button little Black Panther with a pink shoulder and a blue leg. So that's me. What was I saying? I don't think I was saying anything, which means I think that this video is actually ready to be done. Bipolar disorder at this point, 100%, like, actually hadn't crossed into my mind for years. And it used to be damn near the only thing that had crossed into my mind, the only thing that was ever on my mind. Like I was saying earlier, it was a massive problem for me for years. And realizing after I wanted to tell this story, because this is a video I wanted 10 years ago. And realizing that this is a video I wanted to make for me 10 years ago, it was so interesting uncovering some of these experiences because I hadn't thought about it for years. It's been a non-issue for years. And I didn't even realize the growth that speaks of to myself until I sat down to try and formulate the words for this video. So that's really cool. I don't remember exactly when it started to be a non-issue, but, you know, you're just kind of get used to living life, and however it looks like, at a certain point, you're going to get really tired, being really bummed out. Like, if it's physical, that's easy to picture. Like, if you just are missing an arm, like, that's going to suck for a really long time. But also, at a certain point, you're going to be really tired being the guy who's bitching about missing his arm. Like, okay, so I'm down an arm. What are we going to do? And you're going to live life and find a way to play video games. You're going to have to get used to jerking off with the other hand. You know, like, you'll figure it out. And after a while, you're just living your life and you're not even thinking anymore about your missing arm. So that's how it was with me with bipolar disorder. And then other senses of loss I've also endured or experienced is you get used to it. Which I don't know if that sounds good or bad, and maybe that's the general point we'll end this video on. And there's so many other places to go down the line. I want to talk about my experiences with ADHD and what that medication journey is like and what the tools are I've used to help me manage that. And then how kind of like bipolar disorder has helped me understand how I relate to having ADHD as well. And then I lighted also calling the Trevor Project and having a really hard time with my sexuality. And so that's something I would love to talk about also. And what my safety net has been in the past and what some of those experiences are. And there's loads of personal experiences I would love to share with you guys. We got to be done with it for now. And so I do want to fall back just a few moments ago to the point where at a certain point, you just kind of get used to living life again. And the things that really bothered you, whether it's having a mental disorder or going through a really keen sense of loss, you will reach a point or you'll die. And you're going to die someday anyway, so it's whether you die after you've reached the point of just like, all right, well, so I'm just going to live my life. Oh, great. Well, that's not a great way to end the video, is on death. Come on, Phineas. But no, at a certain point, you stop being the guy who's sad that his arm is missing. You just start like it. Right? That's a shitty identity to be limited by having ADHD or bipolar disorder or all sorts of other negative circumstances. And some circumstances are very negative, not to discredit them whatsoever. And every now and then you're going to have to like be diagnosed with bipolar disorder and then really fight with it for like 5+ years before you start getting a handle on it. And then even then it's a few more years before you stop thinking about it at all. It takes a very long time. And with keen senses of loss, there's been also experiences where I never thought, like a few breakups, or I've also dealt with like there's been death before. And what do you know? I'm here now, and at any other previous time, I have also been through any of those hardships. So it stands to reason inside of a hardship that this will also pass, which doesn't help at all in the middle of a hardship. So I don't even know what I'm saying here, and I don't think there's any like helpful or positive way really to end these things on. But generally speaking, wherever you are at, whoever's watching this, whoever needs to receive this, shoot, buddy, just keep on trucking on. And the sooner you're able to reach a point where, to some extent, it might always suck. I can't speak for you on that end. In my experience, things have never yet sucked permanently. But for you, maybe that is the case. I cannot speak to you, and I'm not going to try and naysay what you're saying. You know you way better than I ever can or want to. Honestly, no offense, but I have a hard enough time knowing myself. Like, you're on your own. Good luck out there. You probably need it, but you got this. You'll be fine. Yeah, so there you go. Good job. You got this. I did got this. And then I got this still a little bit because I am such a bouncing, beautiful baby boy. That's actually probably the thing I will say is if you have mental health challenges of any sort, if you're not careful, you might turn into a VTubing furry by the end of it. So try and be a little more careful than me. That's it, though. I hope that you guys liked this. Thanks for hanging out for so long. This was a really fun one. This was a really long one. I can't even tell how long because the text is blurry right there. I got glasses soon. That's gonna be really fun. Looking forward to that. Very small prescription, just enough that the world is like a little bit unclear, and I'm excited for the world to be a little bit more clear. So that's gonna be. We're looking forward to that. You know, they should be in the mail in like a week or so. I'm gonna be so studious. I'm gonna look so smart, and I've never looked smart. That's not true. I look smart all the time. It's because of my giant head. My giant head, which helps make VR headsets not sit very well until I finally got a Pro strap set or whatever for the Quest Pro, because the Quest Pro usually just stays on your head by squishing your head and it sucks. And then I finally got one so it also sits on my head a little bit. It has a head strap. And I've never lived in so much comfort before. I feel like I'm a Cadillac. Good video. So I'm gonna go now. Yeah, I hope that you guys are doing 10 out of 10. Honestly, 10 out of 10. And thanks for hanging out, both in this video and in general. because you guys are wild. You guys are wild and crazy, and everything a little kitty cat boy could hope for and wish for. And I think you guys super duper cool. So yeah, I'm gonna go and live my best life.